This dude gets enrolled at Hogwarts for Dragon Slayers and discovers that he is a descendant of Blue Eyes White Dragon instead. No, this is not Yu-Gi-Oh! And no, I'm not talking about Uo Uo no Mi, model Siryu. But for being such a powerful entity, bro got discriminated against in an American airport and accused of being a homeless person. But wait a minute. How did this boy get lost looking for the Chinese knockoff of Platform 9 and 3/4? Well, let's go back to a few days earlier. Our boy's name is Lu Mingfei, 18, socially awkward and rejected more times than Kai Cenat.
You're right.
One thing to note about Mingfei, he likes to play online strategy games, but uses that red dot in the middle of your laptop keyboard as a cursor, instead of being a normal person. And he has the audacity to hide the truth from his friend, in fear of getting labeled as a freak. Denial is a river in Egypt, indeed. Anyway, bro doesn't know he was being observed by one of the most secret yet prestigious institutions in the world. And why would he, with the kind of poor, aimless life he's been living, and the treatment he's getting from his uncle's family? But don't get me wrong, dude has lofty aspirations in life. He's working so hard, applying to different schools to achieve the one thing he wants the most: to manage a newspaper stand. In fact, this wish is so inspiring, it almost causes an accident on the freeway. But soon enough, he gets this "Congratulations, you've been accepted" mail from something called Cassell College. Naturally, his aunt thinks it's a scam. Because, full scholarship, international flight, mysterious sender. Screams Nigerian prince, but make it anime. In any case, Bud gets invited to a hotel for an interview, and the first question his examiner asks is, "Do you believe in aliens?" And from this point, dear friends, we begin to see the kind of crazy Mingfei has. Bro constantly launches into internal dialogues and arguments with himself, like he's Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney. Mingfei's special ability is to say either the most profound observations or the most brain-dead responses. Sadly, there's no cure for this condition. But the worst ailment Lu Mingfei has is an ailment of the heart. Mingfei is, unfortunately, a massive simp. Read, simp. Brother is obsessed with his crush, Chen Wen, always imagining the specifics of a future with her, like a fedora tipping discard mod. Still, he's too much of a chicken shit to confess. That is, until Nono shows up. And yes, that's her real name. And convinces him to lay out his feelings for her. Emboldened by Nono's words, Mingfei sets out to plan his confession. Which doesn't happen as his classmate, Zhao Manghua, performs one of the top 10 anime betrayals. And confesses to Wen first. Lost and heartbroken, Mingfei starts to slowly descend into a dark space. When, once again, Nono descends from the heavens like Mercy from Overwatch to save our Mingfei, strutting in like Rihanna, fresh off the runway. Which brings us back to that godforsaken terminal, where Lu Mingfei gets stereotyped into oblivion as a homeless friend. Thankfully, he meets Finger Von Frings, a senpai who got held back 4 times, either because he's too dumb to pass, or he's playing 4D chess, the likes of which humankind has never seen. $10 says he's an idiot. Anyway, Mingfei finally falls at ease upon knowing that someone else knows how to get to the college. Dude eventually falls asleep while waiting for the train to arrive. And dreams of robed men carrying torches while running towards a scene I can only describe as a heavy metal album cover, before throwing themselves off a cliff like the infected from World War Z. Bro gets jolted awake and is surprised by a younger kid cosplaying a vampire noble from the 60s. Kids start spouting off random BS, all while asking him if he's ready, before suddenly setting him on fire. Psych! That was also a dream. And the truth is, the train has arrived, marked by the ringing of bells. As Mingfei and Fingers approach the guard, Mingfei introduces himself, and we get another round of hilarious expressions from the guard, then from Fingers, and finally from all three of these stooges. Because it turns out, our boy Mingfei is an S-rank puncher. I mean, student, with a higher rank than the school's own principal nonetheless. In any case, when Bro enters his card on the scanner, he activates a whole-ass welcoming party that's 1,000 times better than the one President Trump got when he visited his best friend in North Korea. Mingfei's ultimate glazer and fanboy, Professor Jurgen, arrives with a train from Honkai Star Rail and welcomes him like a K-pop idol who has just returned from their mandatory military service. Mingfei heads to Cassell College aboard the train. After being fitted for enrollment, and instructed to sign an NDA that he never bothered to read, Mingfei finally gets his "You're a wizard, Harry" moment with the professor, who reveals the truth behind the college and why they need him to become a student. Apparently, the school is studying dragons, specifically how to kill them. According to the professor, humans and dragons have a long and storied past, and have been fighting against each other for God knows how long, and they need to train capable people to continue the fight and prevent these powerful creatures from waking up and destroying the world. Mingfei decides that Professor Jurgen was actually cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, but gets his internal monologue interrupted as the scene once again shifts, and he's face to face with the little vampire boy again. This time, the boy continues the lore dump and basically tells him how the Black Dragon King Nidhogg got overthrown by his own descendants, the part human, part mythical lizard dragon Rajas. How the people cheered upon the fall of the Dark Emperor, and how that success was the reason why the world is how it is now. The screen fades to black, and Mingfei wakes up from falling unconscious again. But Professor Jurgen cannot hold back his enthusiasm like how Finger got held back at school. He immediately shows Mingfei evidence of his claims. A pure black dragon scale and a sleeping baby dragon, who woke up after seemingly sensing Mingfei's presence and almost broke free of its container. Traumatized by everything that happened so far, Lu Mingfei contemplates dropping out of the program altogether, and the professor cheerfully threatens him with lobotomy. Bro just wanted to study abroad. Now he's in How to Train Your DNA. Mingfei finally gets introduced to the mysterious yet prestigious Cassell College, and his first task of the day? Try not to die. So, apparently, the school has a yearly event called Day of Liberty, which sounds festive, like, yay, no classes! Except, no. The entire campus turns into a battlefield. Students suddenly flood the yards, guns blazing and wreaking havoc with their powers. And Mingfei is just out here trying to survive orientation week. It's just like the first day of college. If freshman orientation involved high-caliber sniper rifles and military-grade explosives. In any case, Bro witnesses people getting hit left and right. Professor Jurgen himself gets a bullet in the kokoro and collapses on a pillar. Then, as 99% of the fighters fall, the captains of both squads, Caesar Gattuso and Chu Zihong, come out and settle everything with a high-octane sword fight. Meanwhile, Mingfei attempts to find help, and is surprised by Senpai No-No. But the reunion is short-lived as the sniper girly pop from the opposing team manages to shoot No-No square in the stomach. See what I did there? As our Discord mod sees his favorite VTuber die, Mingfei snaps and activates his trap card, Bipolar Disorder. In his blind rage, Bro pops the sniper point blank in the head before unleashing 2 bullets, Wanted style, defeating both the captains of the fighting squads in smooth succession. The lone survivor of a bloody battle, Mingfei sits defeated by a pillar as the stillness settles in the courtyard littered with bodies. Which doesn't last long as horn blares into the air and medics suddenly rush in the middle of the field and revive the dead soldiers. Turns out the bullets were tranquilizers. No one was really dead, and it was all just some effed up game that the students play as practice for the war against Dragonkind in the future. What's worse, everyone is now angry at Mingfei because due to his interference, technically no one won the game, and both teams had to give up the things they wagered for the fight. Professor Klein, the president of the disciplinary committee and part-time financial manager, pops up in all his shiny glory and reprimands the students from staging a war within the school premises. Dude even calls Principal Anjo and snitches on the kids for ruining his favorite garden. Like that one classmate in high school who reminds that teacher of an assignment they gave yesterday. Yeah, that one guy that you just want to high five. In the face. With a chair. But joke's on him, the president is into that shit. Promises that the school will cover all repairs and even tells everyone to let him join them next time. However, the truth behind the seemingly callous intentions of the principal comes to light in the next scene as he and another professor, Lars, discuss how important having the students be ready for whatever may happen, afraid they might repeat a mistake that cost the lives of hundreds of students in the past. Meanwhile, back at school, Mingfei finally finds his dorm room and his new roommate, Finger. Yeah, you heard that right. The strongest in the school is rooming with the weakest one. But I guess that's kinda fair for obvious reasons. In any case, Frinks gives Mingfei a tour of the entire school, as well as a crash course on magic. What they call sacred words. Powerful enchantments that have varying effects depending on the resonance of the draconic script used and the Dragonkin bloodline of the user. And just as the learning with magic lesson was over, Mingfei once again triggers an illusion that leads him to a mystical tree that's both living and dead in the center of the institution. So Mingfei asks Finger, "What's up with the tree?" Finger's like, "Oh, that? Just the world tree where the Black Emperor Dragon was defeated centuries ago. No big deal. Also, it's our school logo now." Yeah, a totally normal conversation topic before lunch. But before Mingfei can even pretend to care, Professor Jurgen shows up like a panicked dad catching his kid skipping class
Having a
and
catch.
tells him of an important test. Back in the dorm, Professor Jurgen hands him his shiny new student ID and tells him about this mandatory 3E test, which sounds like a personality quiz. But apparently, if you fail, you get expelled. Which means lobotomy and a lifetime of amnesia and possible brain damage. So, yeah, no pressure. But Jurgen's confident in him, probably because of Mingfei's S rank or whatever that means. To test his powers, Jurgen pulls out an ancient music box. Not your grandma's lullaby kind of music box, though. This one contains a dragon roar recorded from the Black Emperor Dragon Nidhogg himself. Because, apparently, cursed audio is allowed on school property? He plays it, expecting Mingfei to react like, "Ah, yes, I feel the ancient dragon energy within me." Instead, Bro just went to Windows shutdown mode. The dragon song didn't awaken his dragon genes, only his nap schedule. Jurgen's like, "Huh, weird. Maybe his human genes are suppressing the dragon ones." Then he suddenly remembers something urgent and runs off in a panic like he just forgot to turn off the stove. The moment the professor's gone, our old reliable Finger immediately posts about Mingfei's failure on the school newsfeed. So, not only did Mingfei flop the test, the whole school now knows he got ratioed by a music box. Even the two student leaders, Caesar and Chu Zihang, see the news and are like, "Wait, the S-rank kid failed the resonance test?" Meanwhile, in the library, the professors Jurgen and Klein are digging through old archives like two gossiping historians. This was connected to the sudden eureka moment of Professor Jurgen before he left the room sprinting. And they find something crazy. Lu Mingfei might actually be a descendant of the White Dragon Emperor, the dragon who rebelled and once fought the Black Emperor Nidhogg and lost. Basically, his ancestors beefed with the final boss and got absolutely cooked. Klein wants to research Mingfei further, but Jurgen's like, "Touch my boy and I'll report you to HR." So they make a deal. If Mingfei passes the 3E test, they'll keep it a secret. If he fails, he becomes the frog on the dissection table. That night, a mysterious figure, which is definitely not suspicious at all, uses the school's AI, Norma, to secretly make sure Mingfei passes the exam. The next morning, Mingfei walks into the test hall with all the confidence of someone who just watched a How to Cheat 101 tutorial. Because all reliable fingers already hooked him up with the answers, which was based on his 8 years' experience of failing test after test. So, you see, kids, even failure has an advantage sometimes. It might just take 8 years to see the fruits of your labor, or lack thereof. The test begins, and all they're provided is just blank paper, a creepy recording, and the promise of a soul vision. In truth, it was like a group therapy session gone wrong. While the proctors step out, Nono tells Toyama that during her own 3E test, she saw a vision of her mom dying. Nothing traumatizing about that, right? Back in the exam room, most students are going crazy with the visions they're experiencing. But aside from Mingfei, a blonde girl to his left seems to be way too serious about it. Mingfei starts writing his prepped answers and suddenly slips into another trance. There, he meets the same mysterious boy from earlier episodes, who finally introduces himself as Lu Mingfei. Yes, the same name as Mingfei's cousin. Could just be a coincidence, might have a significance we've yet to know. Or maybe the author just got lazy or something. Anyway, Lu Mingfei, the boy, tells him, "These visions show what's hidden in your heart. You're different. I'll carry your burdens for you." In other words, congratulations! You've unlocked ghost therapy! Sessions are $200 an hour. Come back tomorrow for your next one. When Mingfei wakes up from his trance, Nono's like, "Hey, you've been asleep for 2 hours in a 3-hour test. But don't worry, you somehow wrote 9 answers instead of 8, and passed anyway." Even unconscious, Bro's just built different. The teachers probably look at him and go, "Wow, unprecedented talent." Meanwhile, Mingfei's like, "Bro, I guess C for every question." Later in the dorm, Finger congratulates the person he helped cheat on the exam and finally welcomes him properly. Because that's what heroes do. He also warns Mingfei about choosing Professor Lars's magic machinery design course, saying, "Bro's insane. Don't do it."
Don't do it.
Finger also shares that the professor they're gossiping about is already halfway around the world on a field trip to find an ancient dragon. Apparently, that's just something teachers do here. And speaking of Professor Lars, in Aquaman DLC territory, we cut to Professor Lars leading an expedition in a submerged city. Yishang and Aki dive underwater to find some ancient ruins. And then, before anyone could react, a magnitude 5 earthquake came. Before the two can swim to safety, the quake hits, communications cut off, and Yishang and Aki are just down there like, "Cool, guess we live here now." Luckily, Yishang was able to reestablish contact and give a status update, using his void snake powers. They finally found the palace of the King of Bronze and Fire. With Yishang and Aki's discovery, Professor Lars reports to the principal that they've found an ancient submerged city, possibly a Dragon King's palace. So the principal gives Lars the green light to grab the key to the city, which turns out to be a baby with pure dragon blood. Yeah, you heard that right. A literal baby. And honestly, a cute one at that. The baby's caregiver hands it over like, "Please take care of him. This is our last remaining key." Like she's just handing out the spare key to the front door. And Lars just nods like that's the most normal Tuesday ever. Lars suits up in his diving gear, puts the baby into a waterproof bassinet, dives into the deep, and activates his Sacred Words ability to reveal the bronze gates of the city. He then proceeds to literally use the baby as a biometric key to open the door, like something straight out of Rick and Morty or Gravity Falls. Then he sends his team, Yeshang and Aki, inside to explore, then heads back up to the ship with the baby, leaving his AI assistant Norma to run full scans of the city. Here's how that conversation went. Norma, oxygen levels are critically low. Yishang, cool, so we're gonna suffocate. Lars, save oxygen.
And modern problems require modern solutions.
Problem solved. Inside, they find evidence of the whole area having mechanisms that, to Yeshang, resembles a clock. Further in, they find a massive bronze pillar covered with vines in a tree-like pattern. Yeshang then tells Aki, if things go south, forget me and save yourself. Which is anime speak for, I'm about to do something stupid. While Yeshang's gone, Aki gets orders to take photos of the pillar and send them to the ship. Simple enough, until she discovers that the tree has draconic language written along its limbs, which causes Aki to hallucinate in a way. Suddenly, Norma's screaming, security system failure, Aki's vitals dropping. Aki's losing consciousness, oxygen's running out, but Yeshang rushes back just in time to save her. He reports, don't worry, I found something heavy and cursed. Also, there's probably a sleeping baby dragon down here. Then, one of the statues straight up starts stalking Aki and almost tricks her into attacking Yeshang. Bro shoots it, which, surprise, triggers the entire city's security system. Now everything's collapsing. They're doing parkour on the architecture to escape, moving through complex hallways while the city itself tries to eat them. Yeshang figures it out mid-escape. Aki touched the wrong statue, the baby dragon sensed intruders, and the palace went into full lockdown mode. Meanwhile, back at Cassell College, alarms blare across campus. All A rank and above students are summoned. But before Bro could even move to find out what's happening, Mingfei suddenly drops into another trance and meets the scary Lu Mingfei again. The boy's like, hey, trouble's coming. Someone might die. But you can use this to your advantage. Here's a cheat code to unlock all maps. Yeah, you heard that right. Bro just got an actual cheat code. Finger wakes him up for the emergency. But as they rush to the hall, Nono tells Finger, sorry, only A ranks and above are allowed. So Finger sulks back to his dorm like a puppy someone kicked to the curb. Inside the hall, students take their seats in front of high-tech consoles. The professors explain. 2 mission members, Yeshang and Aki, are trapped in an ancient city with only 20 minutes of oxygen left. They need the students' help to decode the dragon text that Aki photographed to find them an escape route. Caesar Gattuso stands up saying something along the lines of, you do realize dragon text translation usually takes 15 years, right? And you want it in 20 minutes? But the professors are like, shut up and believe in the power of teamwork. Like the clueless little lamb he is, Mingfei just sits there totally lost for a few seconds. Then Norma helps him set up his dashboard, and he suddenly remembers the cheat code from his dream. He enters it, and lo and behold, the entire map instantly decrypts itself. Everyone went, what? How did he? But Mingfei's like, bold of you to assume I have an idea of what I'm doing. The decoded data shoots straight to the rescue team, guiding Yishang and Aki to the exit. But solving one problem can sometimes open another, and Yishang radios back. We're alive, but wow, this map is impossible to navigate. Before getting absolutely decked by falling debris. And all the while, our MC still doesn't know what's happening, but somehow keeps winning anyway. In any case, since they can't escape yet, our favorite underwater duo finds a calm corner of the ancient city. To find the escape route, Yeshang uses his void snake to connect via Bluetooth to the magic baby. The baby stares at the map for 2 seconds and somehow points out their only escape route, straight down through the base of the ruins. Basically, the only logical escape at the moment involves going deeper into certain death. Professor Lars radios in, asking about their oxygen levels. Good news, they've got 3 minutes left. Bad news, that's also how long it takes to regret life choices. Yishang tells Aki to save her strength, Then, because nothing says I might die like anime romance, he kisses her and promises they'll make it out alive. Up on the ship, Lars suddenly realizes they only calculated enough oxygen for escaping the ruins, not for swimming back to the surface. Nice one, Professor. 10 out of 10 in Dragonology, 0 in math. He panics and orders a lifeboat drop while lowering the ship to pick them up. But several minutes pass, and the two never surface. Lars is blaming himself while rescuers search the water. They finally spot someone surfacing. Hitsuki, clutching the ancient artifact. She tells them Yashang sacrificed himself so she could live. But before they can even process that emotional trauma, something grabs her leg and drags her straight back underwater. Lars tries to dive in after her, but his assistant stops him. And then they see it. Blood in the water, a shadow rising, and suddenly... boom! Water dragon boss fight! The creature bursts out of the sea, and Lars immediately empties a full clip of rifle rounds into it. But like Charizard using the earthquake move on Rayquaza, it's not very effective. They drop missiles next, but the dragon just eats them whole. Probably thought it was sushi. Then a crew member tells the professor that the missiles are still active inside the dragon. Lars goes, "Perfect! Detonate them!" Massive underwater explosion. The crew cheers, thinking it's over. They start planning the post-battle snacks. But then, surprise! The dragon resurfaces, impales Lars's assistant through the heart, and drags her into the deep. Lars, now officially done with everything, screams, empties his rifle again, and listens as the dragon starts making weird guttural sounds. Translation? Laughing. The dragon was literally laughing at them. The crew tells him that the Shushan Dam was nearby. Lars gets a brain blast and commands the crew to go full speed towards the dam. So now we have a chase scene. The ship tearing across the water, dragon hot on its tail, everyone screaming, alarms blaring. It's basically Fast and Furious, Atlantic Drift. They reach the dam just in time. Lars yells, "Open the gates!" The dragon gets wedged in and they detonate the missiles. But because this show can't let us have nice things, one of the dragon's teeth flies off and impales Professor Lars right through the chest. They seem to like barbecuing people through the heart, huh? At the college, students wait for news. Finally, the principal appears on screen, tells them the situation is under control. Artifact recovered. Also, special thanks to Lu Mingfei for the map interpretation. Everyone claps for Mingfei like he just solved world peace. On the way back to the dorm, Ju Zihong catches up with him and says, "Hey bruh, join the Lionheart Society. You'd make a great next president." Then adds, "But if you prefer the student union, no hard feelings." Bro is a tsundere in the making. But before Mingfei can answer, the school bells start tolling. Doves fly across the sky. Zihong explains, "That means someone's died." And as we cut back to the ship, we see Professor Lars bleeding out, with the principal aura forming on the side, but still urging him to hold on until medics arrive. But Lars knows it's over. With his last breath, he reports everything he's discovered: the ruins, the dragon, the artifact. He also asks the principal to tell the students he's gone on a new mission, not that he's dead. The principal nods, quietly noting that the dragon's remains have already been transported to Cassell College for study. And Lars's final words were a request: find Nono a new mentor. Lu Mingfei opens his inbox one morning and finds a dance party invite. Bro's like, "Who's Caesar? And why does he sound like a salad?" Finger, his ever-reliable partner in chaos, explains Caesar Gattuso was the rich, popular student union president, heir to a ridiculous family fortune. Basically, the guy you become when you max out charisma stats at birth. Mingfei hesitates. He doesn't have a tux, he can't dance, and he's still recovering from his accidental genius reputation. But Finger just tells him to borrow one from the drama club. Not like theater kids will notice one missing suit, right? The ballroom is straight out of a fantasy RPG cutscene. Chandeliers, string quartet, and students pretending they weren't just fighting dragons last week. Finger and Mingfei quickly realize they're the only ones without dates. Then Nono does another fresh off the runway entrance. Rose petals literally fall as she walks in, and Caesar himself greets her like royalty. Dude grabs the mic and announces why tonight is a special night. It's Nono's birthday! As the people dance, Finger gets the itch to pull out his dance moves. But since he didn't have a date, Bro drags Mingfei onto the dance floor. Finger's floating like a Disney prince, while Mingfei is dancing like he's being tased. While Mingfei is out there committing war crimes against rhythm, Nono asks Caesar to go easy on him, to stop pressuring him to join the Lionheart Society. Caesar smiles and promises that he won't. Then proceeds to literally make a speech about loyalty, honor, and fighting for what you believe in, asking, "Who will you fight for?" His fanboys and fangirls go, "For Caesar!" Yeah, real subtle. Anyway, in a whirl of song and dance, Mingfei ends up dancing with Zero, the blonde girlie from the 3E test. Guiding him through the steps, they perform a Dancing with the Stars routine that healed the world and ended world hunger. After the dance, Mingfei steps outside for air. Nono spots him and invites him for a drive to the mountains. Mingfei, of course, says yes because, ironically, you can't say no to Nono. While the ball is still underway, Norma, the school's Siri, sets off an alarm. Possible Dragon Raja infiltration detected. The professors slap their foreheads and look at each other like, not again. According to Norma, 13 intruders have forced themselves inside the campus. Their target? The dragon vase that cost the lives of Yishang, Aki, Professor Lars, and his assistant. With staff short-handed, Norma deploys the cannon fodder. The students. Caesar and Chu Zihong get assigned to defend critical areas, while the rest of the students load up with Frigga bullets like they're about to storm D-Dust 2. Meanwhile, back to the mountain drive, Mingfei zones out into another trance state again, mid-drive. Bro panics that he'll crash off the cliff and die in a romantic B-movie ending, but in the vision, Ghost Boy takes the wheel and keeps him safe. After teasing him about Nono asking him to a mountain date, Ghost Boy Mingzi hands him another cheat code. Show me the flowers. Exiting from his trance, they arrive safely at the mountaintop. On the other hand, back at school, absolute chaos erupts. One of the intruders reports to his boss, "Only 6 of us left, everyone else captured." But like any project manager who only wants results, boss is like, "Don't care, get me the dragon base." Norma updates the professors on the situation, saying some intruders caught, while others are still loose. The faculty calls in Professor Klein, asking him to use his Void Snake powers to locate the remaining threats. Klein sighs, "Can't. The school barrier is still up." So, he calls his father, the Night Watcher, and the person who maintains the barrier spell that protects the school, and goes, "Hey Dad, mind dropping the barrier for a bit as a birthday gift?" And Dad actually says yes. Back to the mountaintop, Nono and Mingfei sitting by a tree. Dalking. That's a bummer, isn't it? And reflecting on the fragility of life as Bro outwardly offers his condolences for Yishang and Aki's death. Nono's surprisingly calm though, saying she's accepted their loss, then dropping another bombshell. Professor Lars is dead too. She admits Lars once told her that if anyone ever said he'd gone on a mission, it was code for, "I didn't make it." Eventually, Nono says something like, "When I die, I want people to say I'm on a mission in Iceland. That way, no one will grieve too long." Then she shifts gears and starts talking about fireflies. How, according to ancient myth, they guide lost souls up waterfalls and lead them home. Back at school, the moment the barrier drops, The invasion team makes their move. Their captain, Sakoku Mei, uses her sacred words, or Yanling, to turn her squad invisible. Meanwhile, Professor Klein releases his void snakes to track them. Professor Jurgen worries about the school's unguarded zones, but the teacher assures him that they have a 100-volt security grid. Because nothing beats a Jet 2 holiday like electrocuting trespassers. One intruder, codenamed 13, decides he's too cool for teamwork and decides to go solo through a chimney. Santa Claus speedrun, anyone? He drops into the school's wine cellar, which is suspiciously empty, and uses a master keycard to unlock the door to the Skull Zone. Meanwhile, at Valhalla, Caesar activates his Yanling and senses the invisible enemies approaching. His competitive spirit ignites once again, and he taunts Chu Zihang like, "Race you! Whoever wipes out their intruders first wins!" Zihang can only reprimand his boyfriend and tell him, "Bro, not the time?" The stealth squad's cover is blown when their leader's phone rings mid-mission. Apparently, even professionals forget to put their phone on silent mode. Caesar's like, "Rookie mistake." But before he could delete her, she introduces herself as Sakoku Mei, Aki's younger sister. Caesar offers condolences, but she responds with a level of enthusiasm that the Soviet Union had during the Cold War. "Don't bother, my sister betrayed her bloodline." Then she starts humming a creepy tune, counting down to battle. But Caesar notices the rhythm's off and strikes first, taking out her teammates before the beat even drops. But it turns out, May was just the decoy. Her real purpose was to keep Caesar busy, while her partner, the deadpan girl, heads straight for Zihang at the library. At the library, Ju Zihang is holding his ground. Professors are watching through surveillance screens, nervously noting that Deadpan Girl has no visible weapons. Professor Jurgen checks the files and goes, "Wait, why is Zihang's Yanling ability classified?" Seconds later, we find out why. Zihang activates Royal Blaze, and the entire library transforms into a fiery inferno. Shelves explode, books turn to ash. It's like Fahrenheit 451 all over again. Plot twist, Deadpan Girl unleashes this same ability. So now there's two walking flamethrowers dueling inside the school's most flammable building. You can't make this shit up, bruh. Meanwhile, our chimney intruder 13 explores the forbidden basement and runs into Eva, one of Norma's AI personalities. Eva warns him that the underwater path to the Alfheim Institute hasn't been used in 35 years. But bro thinks he's too cool for danger, so he flashes his clearance card to get through. During the exchange, he gets a call from his employer. "Congrats! Your reward's been increased to 5 million. He's so hyped, doesn't notice the path has ended, and he falls Looney Tunes style into a reservoir. Failing to hear the final instructions before his phone drowns, he continues traveling down towards the deeper part of the institute and finds a door. 13 hears a strange voice calling him brother, and being the smartest man alive, opens it anyway. Because surely nothing bad ever happens when you hear whispers in a haunted tunnel, right? As the school continues to erupt into chaos, we cut back to the child vibes of Nono and Mingfei's moonlight date. She apologizes for Caesar's earlier behavior, saying he only pushed Mingfei because he sees an S-rank potential in him. Then she admits that the dance invitation was not from Caesar, but from herself. Mingfei's like, "Wait, what?" She laughs, teases him about dancing with Zero, then takes another turn and demands that he should join the student union. Of course, Mingfei finds the offer extremely sus. But to clear up Mingfei's suspicions that Caesar might be manipulating her, Nono explains that she genuinely wants him in the student union. Not as a pawn, but as her junior brother. She even reveals that her engagement to Caesar isn't romantic at all, just a political arrangement between their families. Mingfei, still awkward, asks why she didn't help him then during his disaster of a first dance. She smiles and says, "Oh, I tried. Caesar stopped me. He wanted you to figure it out yourself." Translation: He wanted to watch you suffer for character growth. As Nono continues to tease him, asking for her present, Mingfei suddenly remembers Ming Zi's cheat code from earlier. Show me the flowers. As he says it aloud, suddenly the car stereo blasts to life, launching fireworks into the night sky that spell out, Happy Birthday, Nono. Nono freezes, her eyes widening, because it turns out the annual birthday gift was from her late mother. Every year, a pre-programmed message has been sent to remind her that she was loved. The moment hits hard, and she tears up. Mengfei promises to be her little brother from now on, and as she laughs through her tears, she promises to protect him in return. Which means, in typical anime fashion, something horrible is about to happen. Back underwater, 13, our friendly neighborhood intruder, gets sucked through the currents into a new chamber. He almost gets attacked by a shark, but it backs off because, lucky for him, animals instinctively avoid him because of his big dragon energy. He finally reaches the Underwater Research Institute beneath the college, uses his keycard, and slips right in. Inside, the research team and the principal are gathered around the legendary dragon vase, which holds the embryo of Dragon King Norton. No, not Edward Norton. This isn't Fight Club. The scientists are hyped. Can we dissect it? The principal, dead serious, says, Absolutely not. You touch it, you die. He further explains they're keeping the dragon embryo dormant using liquid nitrogen. But there's a problem. The vase has a crack from when Professor Lars used mercury to seal it. And as if things weren't bad enough, Norma's MRI scan reveals something worse. There are 2 embryo cavities. One is empty. The head researcher, ignoring every red flag in the room, goes, Let's cut it open anyway. And the principal answers by literally pulling a knife on him. He tells the entire room to evacuate because if the Dragon King wakes up, everyone becomes dragon dinner. 13 takes the chaos as an opportunity to sneak in and tries to steal the vase. But as soon as he gets near, he starts having visions. A woman's voice whispering, Brother. He panics, takes some pictures, and bolts out of the room. Now, if only he got his final mission instructions, he would have been told to pour a special solution in the vase and extract what's inside. He accidentally drops the bottle anyway, so I guess it doesn't matter. Until, moments later, some rando walks in, picks up the bottle, pours the solution on the vase, then adds a few drops of his own blood. The vase lights up, energy surging, and the man declares, My blood and the dragon now belong to Nidhogg. Back at the church, the duel between Caesar and Sakoku Mei heats up, literally. They're clashing, countering, throwing out sacred words like confetti. To make it more interesting, Caesar issues her a challenge. 3 strikes. If you hit me even once, you win. Her first strike? Fail. The second strike? Still a failure. In her final attempt, she tries a complex feint and still fails. May's like, screw this, and does an Indiana Jones pulling out a gun. Before she can even shoot, a child's whisper echoes through the church and boom! The entire place explodes! Both of them stop staring at the wreckage. Then Caesar realizes something horrifying. His Kamaitachi didn't detect whoever did it, because they had no heartbeat. Uh-oh, cue horror music! Meanwhile, up on the mountain, the fireworks fade. Mingfei's like, wait, the car fixed itself? Nono smiles mysteriously and tells him not to think too hard about it as they head back, not knowing the kind of surprise waiting for them back at school.